AS1670.6 2023, the smoke alarm code. It's been updated. It's been about 20 years since they changed this standard because smoke alarms hadn't changed for a long time, and now technology's catching up. Now, this new Australian standard has not been adopted by the Building Code of Australia yet. In other words, it's an advisory document. It's how you would, if you're installing an upgrade to a smoke alarm system, you would follow this. But it's not retrospective. You can't come back to a place that had been installed years ago and say that doesn't meet the code of this new standard. However, it is a guidance. It's something that you should be following right now, and it covers so many things that were just not clear before. There is some things that are in there that are really very, very helpful, and that's tolerances as far as measurements and spacing off walls and sound pressure levels. It doesn't have to be exact. They can have a little bit of allowance either way. There is also some clarification on when you're measuring the distances from a wall, from an aircon vent. That measurement is to go to the center of the alarm, not to the edge of it. And that's a really big one. That really matters because sometimes you don't have a lot of movement and you can't quite go 300 off a wall to the edge of the alarm. But if it's 300 to the center, that is allowed, plus with a little bit of a tolerance as well, like I mentioned. It also clarifies such things as what actually is a sloping ceiling, because a sloping ceiling, you have to place the alarms in a different position. They have to be a minimum of 500 millimeters down from the apex of the slope ceiling, and not more than 1500 down. But before, there was no clarification. What is a sloping ceiling? And now it's stated at 1 meter or 10 meters and 1 meter of change. So that's a clarification that is very welcome. There is also some requirements in there about the locate function on wall controllers, which is really helpful because up until now, wall controllers didn't exist. A couple of years ago they came in, but it wasn't covered by any sort of a standard, and so now they've clarified some stuff there. It also clarifies distances from things like flush mounted lights and speakers. The old rules would say more than 300 from a light, but now it says if it's a flush mounted light, you don't have to. Why? Because the smoke's not going to be interfered with as it comes through to hit the alarm. If it's a flush light, it's just like a piece of ceiling. So a flush light is exempted from that distance. It also has allowances for choosing of alarms, for false alarms, areas of false alarms where you may be able to replace a smoke alarm that keeps going off with a thermal alarm, providing there's other smoke alarms in that area. There is also some clarification on choice of alarms and what you can do with, let's say, you've got to have it outside a bedroom, but outside a bedroom happens to be a laundry or a shower or somewhere where there's going to be false alarms, and that actually gives you an allowance to say, well, if it's going to cause false alarms, you don't necessarily have to follow the rules to a T. It also gives maximum height of 9 meters for a smoke alarm, and reduced spacing if it gets above that. It clarifies ceilings that are other than flat. It might be ceilings that go up and down, and positioning of alarms. So this 1670.6 is a really, really good guide, and what it shows is that smoke alarms are moving forward. The technology is changing, and now they're looking towards the future more like a detection system where you could have a base sort of a station and be able to control alarms from that. So it's a very exciting development. It's when coupled up with the new Australian Standard 3786-2014, which is the code for the construction of smoke alarms and what requirements that is needed to meet the standard. The coupling up of those two new standards, very, very helpful with smoke alarms and very, very informative when it comes to installing them and making sure, even little things like sound pressure levels, where you measure them, what the minimums are across all spaces. Up till now it's been 85 decibels 3 meters from the alarm, but now they're calling for 75 decibels in any protected area and in the path of escape. So little things like that are going to make homes a lot safer, going to make the systems a lot better to deal with. It's also going to make all of those grey areas that people were arguing about, what is this and what is that, it hasn't been clarified. Now it has been. It's an extremely welcome addition to the suite of Australian standards with smoke alarms, and we're all over it. Every one of our techs know exactly what they're doing when it comes to the installation, because we're ahead of the curve with the codes and standards and amendments and updates. So Glasshouse Home Safety, we're professionals, we got the QBCC license. Use us for your installation.